Welcome to FNF Victory Road Team Analysis. In this series, I'm going to be analyzing different teams that have participated in the FNF Victory Road Draft League, sometimes by myself, but sometimes I will be joined by the coach of the team themselves in an interactive voice chat, sort of an interview, so to speak. This time I am lucky enough to have that situation where I will be joined by StarToad of Detroit Dunsparces.
Hello.
And I just wanted to start out by saying that I think your logo was one of my favorites, your team banner, because...
Oh, yeah, this took me a whole 5 minutes in MS Paint.
I could tell that you really put a lot of effort into this. That was like probably the most intense 5 minutes of your life.
Yeah.
And I think it was Fingered Witch in the team analysis video where Fingered Witch was like, wait, is that a vape pen? I thought it was a cigarette.
That was funny. Yeah.
So everybody, just so you know, Dunsparce vapes.
This is canonical.
Yeah. Give it smoke screen. But yeah, I thought that was really funny. Also, I was going to say Detroit being my favorite Pokemon. Dunsparce being my favorite Pokemon. So, another good decision there. Are you from Detroit, or...?
Well, near Detroit. I'm in the Metro Detroit area. So
okay.
Close, I guess.
So, sort of like I'm from Miami, but not from, like, Miami. I'm, like, outer Miami, but
yeah,
I get
like
what you
that.
mean. Okay. Well, we got the Detroit Dunsparces here, and we're going to jump right into the initial team. This is the first team that StarToad started out with, and I just wanted to ask, what was your thought process when you were drafting this team? I remember thinking, when I saw it, I was like, this is like a throwback to Gen 5, which is like a gen I really liked playing in. So what was your thought process when you were drafting this team?
I played a lot of Gen 5, like, not competitively, just, like, it's my favorite Pokemon, generation, and my first games were Black and White, so I was more, versed with that generation, I guess. I also played a bit of Gen 6, too, but, So, I guess I didn't really know what I was doing when I was drafting my team. Like, when it was my turn for, like, the first pick, I just picked, like, I think it was Starmie, because I didn't really know what to do yet. But eventually I'm like, oh, Rain! Rain is a good dynamic to have, so I kind of built my team around that. It wasn't really good, but it was something. You'll notice that I don't really have a steel type at all, so
yeah.
That was kind of detrimental. And I didn't really have a steel fairy dragon core, which that was not cool. Like, I had Guzzlord, but I don't think that really counts. Guzzlord is not that good.
Yeah, I think you only used Guzzlord like twice or something, right? Or 3 times,
It was
something like that.
I think I only used it once.
Oh, once even. Yeah, Guzzlord. I honestly wasn't expecting to see Guzzlord when I fought you, so that kind of says something about Guzzlord. But yeah, this was very Gen 5, because Rain, it was all Weather Wars back then, and Rain was like the dominant weather.
Rain was like the best.
Yeah, I had a Rain team. I loved Rain.
Yeah.
So when you drafted Politoed and Pelipper, were you thinking that you would trade one later, or were you just like, nah, let me get both of the Rain setters?
I just wanted both of them. So I guess it worked out in the end. I wasn't really planning to trade one of them. I did later on, but that's because I noticed that one was like distinctly better than the other.
Yeah.
So okay, I'll just get rid of that one.
They have
Politoed.
They have niches, like they have their own unique niches, but I feel like Pelipper just covers more ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, Your team was, I'd say out of all the teams, your team was probably one of the most cohesive. Not right now in this initial stage, but at the end, I think it was the most cohesive, in my opinion. Because it had a theme, and it kind of stuck to that theme, and because of that, the Pokemon worked together really well. Again, like, right now, we're in the initial team, but, like, later on when you make some of the exchanges, like, you really hone in the cohesion. But yeah, so that was really interesting to see, and I was actually pretty excited to fight your team. Why did you give... Well, it's kind of obvious. Why did you give Z any to Porygon Z and Z Attack to Zapdos?
Porygon Z conversion is really good. Omni boosting is always fun. And for Zapdos, I figured that Zapdos has a pretty good special attack and like a decent move pool, so I'd figure like that would be pretty cool if I use the attack there. I don't really use it too well, unfortunately, but it's there.
It's good to have on Zapdos because when you're team building versus your team, Zapdos is nowadays more commonly used in a defensive manner. So yeah, having that Z attack option there is just like a little reminder like, ha, what am I going to do? Am I going to be defensive? Am I going to be offensive? You don't know. So
yeah, mix-up factor is always good.
Yeah, and that was definitely there. So overall, you did have that rain strategy going for you, especially with Mega Swampert, who is definitely strong, as we'll see. So we'll go into the battle record now. And overall, you got rank 5 in the regular season, and you did make it into the playoffs, so congratulations for that. You overall had a 6.4 score with a plus 11 differential. So how do you think you did? How do you think your performance was overall compared to like what you expected?
Well, I did pretty good considering that I thought I was going to go like 0-10.
Yeah. I remember week 2.
Yeah, after I lost to Colin, who I got kind of demotivated after that because he's like, oh, Colin is bad. And oh, Colin is like the worst seed. This isn't true, by the way. Colin is amazing. But that's what I thought at the time, so I got pretty mad. So, and after that, I definitely picked up some momentum. Especially after I traded for Celesteela, but we'll see that later. So, like, after I fought the Butcher Blissies, I kind of went on a rampage, if you will. It slowed down, but after a little while, after I fought Quest, but I only lost to, like, the top 4, so I consider that really good.
Yeah, you actually did really well, and you didn't get to fight ever, actually, Wooper Blooper, which was the other playoffs. So, yeah, that was really good, and it's funny that you mentioned Colin, because at the time, week 2, I think you were both still, like, in the... like, you two especially kind of have, like, your before and afters, I think.
Yeah.
And I think you were both kind of in that before and after. Colin was already, like, I think right after he lost to me, he was already getting on that growth. And I think after that second battle for you, that's when you started getting on that growth too. In his video, he actually mentioned, I think that you had mentioned that week, that you just copy and pasted your team from the first week.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, so I think after that you're like, okay, let me start getting on my groove, and you did, as you can see by that big chunk of green in the middle. Versus some pretty formidable teams too. So yeah, you definitely found your groove after that, and also some key exchanges later.
Yeah.
In terms of teams, which team do you think, like, which team were you most excited to face?
I was pretty excited to face King Fuse and Edgar. Like, I think those fights, I really had a fun time trying to, like, team build and just working around their team structures, if that sounds good.
Yeah. And that was at King Fuse, you were at 2-2, so that was the pivotal moment where you could have gotten into the positive, which you did. So that was a good time for you. I think that was like when you started really cementing yourself as like one of the top tier threats. For a while you were second, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Like, after week 7, I think I was like rank 2.
Yeah, so you did really good in that middle chunk. Was there a team that you were like, oh gosh, I really don't want to face this team, or like you were like, this is gonna be a hard one?
Well, I didn't actually face him, but versus Lion Hugs, Superior is really, really scary. Like, I don't like fighting Superior at all. I mean, I could work around that, but if those counters went down, I would not have a fun time at all.
Yeah,
and
Celesteela especially.
Yeah, and the Dutch Inkays, that was another problem team for me, because his quest team is like really versatile, so
Yeah.
I really don't know what he's going to bring until I see it. So I was kind of surprised when I fought him, and yeah, I was expecting different things basically.
Yeah, he has that definitely going for him, that variety that's really, it could really be hard team building. I definitely experienced that versus him. But overall, I think you did really well, especially, like, I think I told you that in your video I was going to definitely point out how you thought you were going to go 0-10. But
yeah,
right after you're like, I'm going to end 0-10, you go and win 5 in a row, which was very impressive. Not many other people were able to do that. So, very, very big kudos on that one. And we'll actually move forward and look at some of the individual matches now. The first one is kind of what I kind of consider this one like the telltale, like, don't use sticky web versus Bisharp.
Yes. Oh boy. So, if I can explain here, so the match is starting. I send out Galvantula as my lead. I figure I'm gonna set up sticky web and slow his momentum, and then he sends out Bisharp. And I forgot that Bisharp has Defiant.
Yeah.
So it's like a free Swords Dance. So I'm like, what do I do? So I just kind of start throwing out Pokemon, and like nothing was working. I think I eventually took it down, but at the cost of my entire team.
I think the saddest part of that match, because like I was watching you trying to turn it around, and the saddest part to me was...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Venomoth using Sleep Powder.
So, yeah, I wasn't really versed with what electric terrain did exactly. So I tried to, like, put Bisharp to sleep, but then electric terrain just stops that. I completely forgot about that. So, I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, that was really tragic, because it's like, I've been there. I think we've all been there, because terrains are just so complicated compared to weather. So it's like very easy to forget what each terrain does. So, yeah, and you had that plan too, where it's like, oh, he's gonna use Sucker Punch. I could survive that because I'm using Sleep Powder. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of sad, but you do get to get the run back in playoffs, so we'll go over that definitely later. And I think that it was really cool, actually, that you got to face him in playoffs, because that was like kind of a measure of your growth. So yeah, but we'll move on to battle number 2 now. And speaking of the other person you get to face in playoffs, this is Appleton Allegiance Week. So this is the week that you had your second loss that kind of demotivated you. In this one, it seemed like Megalopony and Rotom together were really big threats to your team.
Yeah, Rotom is actually, it's really good in this matchup in particular, because you can threaten Pelipper and Mega Swampert at, like, the same time. So, like, one misstep, and there goes my game plan. It was pretty scary. And then Megalopony is also scary.
Yeah.
So, I again, like I said before, I didn't change anything. I just copy-pasted my team from Tiller, which wasn't that good in the first place. So, yeah, this was... It was a catalyst, I guess, for what I did later.
That's true. We could see it that way, in a positive way. Also, I love how in this slide I misspelled Appleton.
Oh, Appleton.
Appleton. That's a city in Wisconsin, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, let's move forward. And this is now you managed to get your first win, and this is what's going to set that momentum moving forward. And Galvantula really being the star in this one.
Yeah, typically Galvantula isn't really supposed to get kills. It's more of like suicide lead with Sticky Web, but it worked. So it is like, it has a good matchup against a lot of Sturwollen's team being super effective. Bug being super effective against Latias and Tyranitar and electric type moves threatening Staraptor, so there is a bit of like typing there. Another thing is that I forgot to put Drizzle on my Pelipper because I was like on mobile at the time and I didn't like double check everything. So I'm like, like I tried to like send it out versus Tyranitar, and I'm like, oh, why didn't it make it rain? And then I'm like, oh, right. So that was a bit sad, but I still won the match. So
that's actually hilarious. It's like Pelipper goes from tier 1 to tier 5 with just one mistake.
Yeah. Pelipper without Drizzle is not the best.
Yeah. But you still managed to win this one, and you carried that momentum moving forward, which is when this I think was the defining moment of like your transition into, okay, I'm gonna become a top tier threat now. Sorry guys. So you traded Starmie for Celesteela.
Yeah,
and
so I hadn't actually used Starmie up to that point, mostly because I didn't know how to use it, other than like, oh, Rapid Spin, that's cool. But I had like Defoggers and Pelipper and Zapdos, so like I figured I didn't really need that. So I also really needed a Steel type, like really badly. So I'm looking through the list and I see Celesteela's not drafted yet, and now I look at its stats. It's like a mixed tank. It can do anything. So I'm like, oh, this is great. I'll draft this.
Yeah,
like,
this was a really good one for you. I think this was probably the single best exchange in the entire league. Because with this, you formed this core of Mega Swampert, Pelipper, Celesteela, where Celesteela's fire weakness, the other two could come in, plus rain. And then Celesteela and Pelipper's electric weakness, Swampert could come in, and then the grass weakness is mitigated by Celesteela. Like, it is such a strong core, and I think that you really did yourself a good one by drafting Celesteela.
Yeah.
This definitely, this and we'll see the other exchange later on, but this started your path to becoming probably, at least in my opinion, the most cohesive team in the whole league. So really impressive exchange here. And like earlier I was really excited to face your team, and then I saw you get Celesteal and I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, this is gonna be painful once I have to face this. But yeah, it was a really good exchange. Moving forward versus Butcher Blissies, this is the first time you get to try out Celesteela.
Yeah, it did pretty well. I know that Fingered Witch does not like Celesteela. Surprise there. Yeah. I also brought Politoed here instead of Pelipper because I didn't want 3 flying types, and Politoed got Haze, and I was worried about things boosting on the other team. So I packed Haze there.
That makes sense. That's actually good. You actually played Politoed really well in this one, where I think Fingered Witch's plan was to disrupt your reign with Sunny Day, but you were able to just keep switching in and out and predicting those moves, bringing Celesteela on the grass moves, Politoed on the fire moves, so you danced around that strategy really well, I think.
I think something that could have gone differently is if he brought Xurkitree, because Xurkitree is scary. Like, its special attack is ginormous, and it also gets energy ball.
Yeah,
not good. So
yeah, and no way to pack a Rindo Berry on Swampert to resist that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious to see how that would have gone, but overall, I think Fingered Witch still had a solid strategy, but you were able to overcome that, and that was a really strong week for you with a +6 win.
There were definitely things I weren't expecting, even if I knew he was going to run, like, offensive Blissey, because that's just what he does, but, like, with Brain Dance and Thunder and Sunny Day, I think that having, like, Protect on Politoed was really good.
Yeah. So, yeah, that scouting was really good, especially versus a team that's kind of gimmicky, because that's really what Fingered Witch likes to do, use gimmicks. So I think that was a good call, and this was sort of like one of those introductions into your really strong team building as well, and we'll see that moving forward. How could I forget? So we move on to the next exchange, a very evil Pokemon. But I'm biased. So you exchanged Venomoth for Drapion. Why?
So Venomoth was not doing me any favors. I had 3 bug types on my team, and I don't know why I did that. So so Galvantula and Yanmega, they just kind of have the role that Venomoth does, and well, the typing that Venomoth does, and I needed something else. So I found Drapion, and Drapion's typing is really good. It gets Pursuit, Knockoff, has like pretty good power. So I'm like, oh, I'll take this, and it worked well for me. So
yeah, that was a really smart trade. I think, again, overall, I think you overall did the best exchanges, and this was one of them. We'll see how useful it could be later.
Yeah.
Really good trade there. It also, in terms of synergy, the flying types, because you have a lot of flying types, could come in.
A lot of flying types. 4, I think. Yeah.
1, 2, 3. I count 3.
Celesteela, Yanmega, Pelipper, and Zapdos.
Oh, and Zapdos. I missed Zapdos. Yeah, 4. So those flying types can all help Drapion by coming in on predicted ground moves. So that also was really good for you. And then you also traded Dunsparce for Clefairy in a surprise move. I guess Dunsparce, you decided to let Dunsparce go and buy more vape supplies and go to like the vape shop.
Well, you know, Dunsparce, I kind of feel bad, because it is bad. So, the best you can do is like glare and then fish for headbutts with serene grace.
Yeah.
That's not really a good strategy in the long run. So I also needed a fairy type because, you know, just to be there, I guess, to be threatening. And Clefairy exists, I guess. Like, it actually has, like, decent bulk, and it has, like, the same move pool as Clefable. So I just kind of took that. It also has Magic Guard, which is very useful. So yeah.
Yeah, this was a surprising trade, but, like, also, I bet you were looking at a bunch of other fairies and were like, oh wait, it's taken, it's taken, it's taken, it's taken.
I almost took Mr. Mime, so shows you how desperate I was.
But, as we'll see later, Clefairy can actually do things too.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So now you're versus Elemental Dragons, and this was one of the matches that you looked forward to a lot. And another good one for Galvantula.
Yeah. Again, kind of unexpected. So, I remember, like, that I was kind of scared of Clefable. Like, really scared of Clefable. Because I didn't know what it was gonna do exactly. Like, Clefable is really versatile.
Yeah.
So, it's also, like, bulky. You could probably live in Earthquake or Waterfall from Swampert. So, the plan was to just take down whatever threats he had. He decided to, like, lead with a Molga, so I wanted to take that down pretty soon. And then he also sent out Kieran Black early, so I tried to, like, counter that with Celesteela, which, I think he had, like, Life Orb or something on it. So, when he, like, did Fusion Bolt, it actually, like, took him down, too. So, like, oh, that's cool. Now I'll just, like, set up Rain and then set up Swampert for the sweep. So then I send out Pelipper, and then Articuno comes in, and then it uses Freeze Dry. This is one of my, many encounters with Freeze Dry. My team was pretty weak to Ice, actually. So I wasn't really expecting that. So I'm like, fine, I'll switch into Galvantula. Hopefully I'll do something. And then it just kind of swept the other team.
Galvantula being there for you. I think this also cemented its place on the MVP rankings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that Freeze Dry is your worst enemy, having a lot of flying types, and then hitting two of your key Pokemon very super effectively, not just regular super effective. And you don't really have anything to resist it, do you?
Besides, I guess my best thing is, like, Celesteela, I guess. But even then, if your opponent is just, like, playing around that, like, being Celesteela being your only good switch-in, they can, like, punish you for it, I guess.
Yeah, so that's definitely... It's easy to forget about Freeze Dry, because you always think Ice Beam, you know, not Freeze Dry, but... Yeah, it's a stealthy move, and we'll see a little bit more later. But yeah, this was a good match for you, and for Galvantula. And then moving forward, you make... I think this is your final trade?
Yeah.
Politoed for Goodra. And what was your thought process behind this one?
So, I needed a special wall. My team was kind of weak to that. So then I looked through, like, the list on the chart, and I see Goodra there, and I just do some research on it, and I found out it gets Sap Zipper as an ability and Hydration. So that's really good. And then it also resists Electric, which is really good. And so I'm like, oh man, this Pokemon is perfect. I'll draft it. And I just kind of left Politoed behind because I didn't really need two Rain Setters. So, yeah.
You let Polytoad go drink the chemicals in the water.
Yeah.
Just like with
Okay.
yeah, just like Dunsparce went to go vape. They went to go do that together actually. So this was a really strong trade as well. One of the better trades in the league. And at this point, this is when your team, like, I remember seeing this and seeing your progress and thinking StarToad might just win the rest of the matches that he does. Like, I don't know if he's even, if it's even possible to stop him at this point. You had a lot of momentum, and your team just kept getting better. And yeah, like you said, this was great. You got the special defense, you got hydration, and sap sipper. Like, really smart choice with this one. And I remember you were teasing it too. You were like, "I got a super secret pick."
Oh yeah. Right.
But it was really good. It was a really good choice, and this really made your team a very cohesive rain team. Aside from the freeze dry weakness, there's not really much like that I could think of that it's like, okay, this is how to exploit this team. So really solid. I think you did really well with your exchanges. And moving forward, we go into Canopy Defenders. And in this one, this is where you debuted Gudra. And this one, Edgar also debuted Persian. And I think Persian, unfortunately, didn't do what Edgar wanted because...
yeah, I heard it was like, had a choice scarf, right?
Yeah.
And used substitute. So I'm like, okay, what's Persian gonna do? So... I think I sent out like Drapion or something. So he just switches out. It was really weird, and I questioned it at the time, but like I was kind of thankful for it, like knowing this now. So
yeah, it had Choice Scarf, and he forgot because he was going to use Switcheroo and then set up a substitute, but he ended up not doing it. I think he gave his set for Persian to me because he was like, oh, I'm going to pull some shenanigans with this. And it was good in concept, but like, I think that was an unfortunate move for him when he forgot. But this is this isn't the first time that we see Mega Swampert be really, really a force to be reckoned with. But this is the start of Mega Swampert instilling fear in everyone, I think.
Yeah. Another thing, like, going into this match, I was very, very scared of Mimikyu. So I breathed a very huge sigh of relief when he didn't bring it. Another thing is that I didn't bring Celesteela. I don't know why, but I know that he wanted to, like, trick the Choice Scarf onto Celesteela. So I guess that was good in the long run, I guess. So that was just me being an idiot, but
I think he probably didn't bring Celesteela because he didn't bring Mimikyu probably because of Celesteela.
Yeah, Celesteela or Mimikyu gets hard walled by Celesteela.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I didn't bring it, but worked out.
Yeah, it did. And this was a really strong win for you, and this actually gave Mega Swampert the MVP slot. Blue Hulk got its first MVP, and this kind of foreshadows later where Mega Swampert's going to be on the MVP ranking. So, so definitely a strong week for Mega Swampert moving forward.
Absolutely, and thanks to Colin for drawing it. It's really good.
Yeah, Colin's been awesome with all these drawings, and this is a little teaser for the next one, but he actually ended up drawing the banner for the next league. So
Ooh.
I'll be dropping that soon, but here's a little teaser of it to anybody who's listening. Yeah, really like this. I like the little karate chop with the motion there. It looks really cool. You face the American Braviaries next, and this battle can basically more momentum for Swampert, but this is basically to me a sigh of relief. Like when I think of this battle, I think of you breathing a sigh of relief that you took down Mega Venusaur.
So the scenario is that he sends out Venusaur versus Swampert, and I Earthquake. It does like half of his health, and I kill him if I outspeed him, and I kill him if he doesn't switch out. So I almost switched out here, but then I'm like, there's no real harm done if I just Earthquake again. So then I press the button and he stays in, and I kill Venusaur, which was like the biggest roadblock because it blocks Leech Seed and Toxic from Celesteela. So that's really good. And also just killing Swampert in general. So
yeah, once Venusaur was gone, there was not really a way for him to deal with Swampert. So I think that's how Swampert was able to craft that path to victory very early. He also didn't really have something to come in and take ground moves. So
yeah, really, he didn't bring his flying type in Braviary, and he never. Or wait, no, he switched out for Xatu, I think.
Yeah.
So he didn't bring Xatu. And yeah, he doesn't have a ground immunity.
Yeah, so that hurt him in this match, I think.
Yeah, I was listening to the team analysis of Noob Scrub, and he sounded really sad, so I kind of feel bad for this one.
Yeah, it's because he, through his mind, right? He knew
he was gonna, like, die if he stayed in, so...
Yeah, so that was kind of unfortunate for him. But I think next league he's definitely going to take all these things into account, and he's gonna rock us all. Just you wait and see.
I know he wants Celesteela.
Yes. Celesteela is very much a Pokemon that he enjoys, so I'll be curious to see how that ends up going. But yeah, very good week for Mega Swampert, and you now move into the battle with Dutch Incase.
Yeah, so, like I said before, going into this, I didn't really know what to expect. I think I drafted a fairly good team for, like, what I was expecting, but, some things didn't really work out, such as, Weezing dying to, like, the Paris song Azumarill. And then, I think, like, the point where I really lost the match was where I switched in Mega Swampert to, like, Jolteon when I knew it had Hidden Power Grass, so that was kind of unfortunate. I should have switched into Goodra there.
Yeah.
Goodra did pretty well this match, so...
Was it a Sap Sipper Goodra?
Yeah, it was Sap... no, it was actually Hydration.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because Sap Sipper Goodra, I mean, even regular Goodra, Hydration Goodra, could take Hidden Power Grass from Jolteon. Yeah, I think some of the matches, I think there was another one, well, one with me later, but where you switch in Swampert and it gets the read on the Swampert switch in and ends up killing Swampert. That's really, I think, when, like, everything kind of falls apart, because Swampert is such an integral part of your team. And it's easy to keep it alive, but it's really hard when your opponent, like, predicts the switch correctly, I guess. So, this was a loss, but this was one of the only losses in the chain of wins that you had, so yeah, that was what kind of stopped your momentum, but you were able to pick it up later. The next battle was versus me, actually, Mystical Chain.
Yep.
So, starting the battle.
So yeah, starting off, you led Mew, and I send out, like, Drapion. So, and you just, like, So I knock off with Drapion, and it's a one-hit KO. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So Mew is probably gonna be like a big problem because I don't know what's gonna have because it's Mew. So, and then you send out Volcarona, and then it also dies to a knockoff. Awesome! I knew that it had Giga Drain, and that sucks. So that was also really good to get down. But I lost the match probably due to Trick Room shenanigans with Aromatisse.
Yeah. So I think I already showed you, but there's this one picture of Lisa Simpson where she's just like looking down with this look on her face. It's like super surprised and shocked and like just. That was me in that moment, especially losing Volcarona, because to be honest, Mew was like my least important Pokemon. And Volcarona kind of was too. Like, I knew the other four were a lot more valuable for me, but losing Volcarona in one shot hurt. Losing Mew was like whatever, but losing Volcarona really hurt because I'm really used to running Focus Sash Volcarona, so I think that like when I see Volcarona with full HP, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And I also did calcs on Mew and made it bulky enough to take a knockoff from Drapion unless it was banded. So I knew that it was banded because it one-hit KO'd Mew, and I knew that would probably one-hit KO Volcarona, but I just didn't, I guess, like, I was just too not thinking.
Didn't think it through all the way.
Yeah, so that was really funny, and practicing with Colin, actually, I was like, the one thing I hope he doesn't bring is ban Drapion, and like you start off and OKO me two of my Pokemon with it, so I'm like, oh shit.
Another thing is that I brought like the most anti-meta Goodra possible with like Curse and Earthquake.
That was really lucky for me because my Lotic was able to take it like nothing.
Yeah, you also had Haze.
Yeah.
Probably anticipating like Porygon Z or something.
Yeah, I usually pack Haze on my Lotic.
Yeah, I didn't know it got Haze, so oops.
Yeah, I almost always pack Haze on my Lotic. It's such a good move. The only time I didn't, like prior to this, I think was with Tiller, and I regretted it deeply because Golisopod started setting up on me, and I was like, oh shit, I should have packed Haze. But yeah, this was a really close one. You were winning 90% of this battle, and I thought that I had lost, to be honest.
But not the last time.
I like looking at a lot of the battles that I've done, like a lot of, especially the close ones, like I lose like 90% of it, and I'm like, oh, somehow I clutch it out. I mean, like with Trick Room, I know that that's the formula. Like I know I'm gonna lose in the beginning and then turn it around with the Trick Room. I just have to like lose by not enough, if that makes sense. But yeah, but you did really well. You brought the team that I did not want to face. Like the exact team you brought was basically like when I was practicing with Colin, I'm like, these are the 6 Pokemon I don't want to face, and then you brought them. So that's good. That's a testament to your team building. So moving to the next one, Star Conquerors. This was the last one, right? Yeah, week 10.
So it's week 10.
So there's a lot on the line for this one, because if you lost, there's a big chance that you wouldn't make it into the playoffs. But you won. So how did you approach this battle? Because there's a lot of threats to your team on the other team, specifically Celebi and Gastrodon and Ferrothorn.
Yeah, so the big thing I was worried about is Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is like one of my personal least favorite Pokemon, just because it's awful. So the idea was, I knew he would lead Ferrothorn, so I sent out like Zapdos, and it had Heat Wave. So I actually managed to like one-hit KO it with Heat Wave, which I was kind of surprised about, because I didn't know if he would like one-hit KO him despite like, you know, fire moves.
Yeah.
That was cool. And then feel like the other big threat was Gastrodon with like Storm Drain. So I actually had like Hidden Power Grass on Goodra just to take care of that.
Yeah, I remember that. That was really good.
Another thing was that I did the damage calculations, and Vikavolt could actually like live through a Swampert or Swampert waterfall, and then it had Energy Ball. So I'm like, oh, so that was one of the big reasons I used Goodra. Almost didn't bring it just because of like Zygarde, but it really pulled its weight.
Yeah, and it was a really strong switch into a lot of moves too. So I think you played this one really well. Yeah, when I saw Zapdos versus Ferrothorn, I was like, oh, is this going to be Heat Wave? And that's exactly what it was. Yeah, it's interesting too, because like a lot of the bird Pokemon in Japan, they get Heat Wave, and a lot of people are like, why do they get Heat Wave? But in Japan, it's called Hot Wind, and I think that's why they get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a really good battle, and it cemented your spot in the playoffs. So we're going to look at the playoffs matches, but before we do that, let's take a look at some of the Pokemon on your team. The only Pokemon you have with 100% usage, which is one of the few, I think there's only like 6 or 7 in the league that have 100% usage, is Mega Swampert. And it actually got second place in the MVP race.
Yeah.
18 kills, 5 deaths. That's really good.
Not what I was expecting, but I'm happy. So,
was Mega Swampert your favorite to use?
Yeah, that and Goodra. I really like using Goodra.
Yeah, you use Goodra pretty well.
Like, take so many special hits, and then like it has a pretty wide move pool with like Sludge Wave, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam. It knows a lot. So,
yeah. And it could go physical or special.
Yeah.
Usually special, but it could go physical too. You had some really good differentials. The only one that is pretty bad is Pelipper, but I think what it doesn't show is that Pelipper did its job in setting up rain.
Yeah.
So,
it also got more kills in the playoffs, but yeah.
Yeah, it definitely did. Was there a Pokemon that you didn't really like using that much on your team?
Zapdos.
Really?
It did like one thing, which was KOing Ferrothorn, but I could have used it way more effectively than I actually did, because most times that I used it, it either just died outright or didn't come out. So I feel like I could have used it in more of a defensive kind of thing. And also Porygon Z.
Really?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's very interesting. At least during the regular season, it didn't do anything. Because it either died... Again, same thing as Zapdos, either died immediately or didn't come out. And then there was the one time versus, like, King Fuse, where I actually, like, got it to set up, and then it died to, like, a critical hit Scald or something. So, that was fun.
Yeah, I guess during the regular season you didn't have much success with Porygon Z, but that's going to change, as we'll see soon. Zapdos, yeah, when I was preparing for you, I was expecting defensive Zapdos, because that's usually the set that's run more often, meta-wise. So I think that's something, if you ever get Zapdos again, to explore, trying to run defensive Zapdos. Yeah. Because offensive, it's kind of more of a thing of the past, I'd say.
Yeah, like its special attack is good, but like...
But its typing. Its typing really makes it a good defensive option.
Yeah.
So
flying is really good.
Yeah. Plus Roost, plus Defog, so yeah, overall, your team did really well, I think, especially once you made those exchanges. And yeah, was there a Pokemon that you felt was the hardest to use?
Wheezing. So, Wheezing is weird because I've mainly just used it to spread burns, but it actually gets like a pretty good support move pool with like Taunt, Haze, and Toxic Spike, some other things too. So, but I couldn't really do that most of the time, just because any special hit and it just dies.
Yeah.
So.
It's also hard to use because you have to be very decisive when you use it because it doesn't have recover. So
yeah, it gets Pain Split, but oh boy, Pain Split is not reliable at all.
Yeah, yeah, it really isn't. Well,
it's one of those mons where if it got recover, it'd be way better.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I definitely agree. I would say, yeah, Wheezing is probably the hardest to use. Looking at your roster, but this was the regular season. We're going to actually move into the playoffs now, in which you were able to make it, and you made it into the playoffs on rank 5, which means you had to face rank 4 Tiller in the quarterfinals. And this was a nice full circle moment because you started against Tiller, and this was an opportunity to show how far you've come from that initial match. So what were you thinking before we get into the actual match results? What were you thinking trying to face Tiller? Like, were you nervous? What was your strategy going in to face his hyper offensive team?
So I feel like I mostly had the call on what he would bring. So I knew he would bring Tapu Koko, of course, and Zygarde.
Yeah.
And then go with Pod to like abuse Rain, Bisharp just because of last time, and Mandibuzz because that's usually his like defensive mon of choice. And then he brings Exeggutor, like, and I was pretty surprised. So it kind of did me in later. So like I think I led with Goodra versus Tapu Koko. He usually leads Tapu Koko, so I'm like, oh, I'll just Sludge Wave. But he's smarter than that, so he switches into Bisharp. And then I'd use Hin Power Fighting and take it down, which is kind of a running theme throughout all matches.
Literally every single one.
Yeah, I could have used it more effectively. I could have probably like switched into Wheezing or something.
It became tradition in match 3. It was just like, we have to do this.
Yeah.
It was like deja vu commentating it. I'm like, wait, suddenly time doesn't make sense to me. So this first match, I think Exeggutor really tripped you up.
Yeah. With the Yache Berry.
Yeah, that was pretty game defining.
That was pretty smart.
Yeah. It was a really good bait for an ice move too with that Yache Berry. So this was a pretty big win for Tiller at +5, but you weren't out yet, and you still had a chance to prove yourself. And we move on to match 2, where you were able to do just that. So you changed Zapdos for Celesteela. What was the reasoning behind that?
So the reason I kind of brought Zapdos in the first place was that it wasn't weak to electric, and I figured it could also like be a good tank. I actually like ran defensive Zapdos in that set, but it didn't work. So I just decided to go with Celesteela, even though it's like really weak to Tapu Koko. I ran the usual like sub-seed set with like Air Slash to deal with like Exeggutor, and it actually like worked really well. I was able to take down Bisharp and Exeggutor pretty early, and then I was able to like set up with Porygon Z for like the first time ever, and it actually like got kills.
Yeah.
So that was really good. I don't think Tiller really likes Porygon Z, I got that impression after this match.
Yeah, Porygon Z was a really good choice against his team. And I think the switch to Celesteela was a good choice too, even though it didn't seem like a good one at first because of Tapu Koko. It actually was really good in handling the rest of the team, so I think that was good. So we have a 1-1 score now, and you're moving into it. What was your thought process after, like, you lose the first one, and it's a pretty big loss, and then you win the second one? What are you thinking right now?
I gotta kill Tapu Koko.
That was definitely my thought process when I was facing him too. It's very like Tapu Koko's like, if I could just kill that one Pokemon, but it keeps switching in and out, and that's the worst part about it. Alright, so we move into the final match, and you don't make any changes, but you see that Golisopod's no longer there, it's Raichu Alola.
Yeah, that was probably a good choice, considering that Golisopod was just not doing much at all.
Yeah.
So, I actually got pretty lucky here. So, I sent out Mega Swampert and Rain versus Raichu. I'm now like, oh yeah, I'll outspeed it. But then I forgot Surge Surfer, right?
Yeah.
That doubles speed in electric terrain, which I forgot. And then it uses in-powered grass. I'm like, uh-oh. It actually doesn't kill somehow. So I'm like, I sigh in relief. And then another thing was that Amandaba's Toxic missed. If the chip from Toxic like actually happened, I would have died, or Mega Swampert would have died. So that was pretty lucky. And then I was actually, again, I pretty much did like the same thing with Porygon Z, sending it out versus Mandibuzz and setting up. And then I had to like maneuver around Zygarde, which was that was fun, because Zygarde 1,000 Arrows does like, it hits everything.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, all of my flying types, if they're not like weak to, if their flying type is removed, they're weak to ground. So that's always fun. Well, yeah, and Weezing has Levitate, but it also ignores Levitate, so I had to like burn it, and then I had to send in Porygon Z. So I actually like clutched that out 2-0.
Yeah, that burn was really smart, because I think that set the condition for you to be able to set up with Porygon Z. So once again, you have Porygon Z clinching it for you, but Weezing really had a big part in that match too. That was a really good set. That was an exciting set. First set of the playoffs, already really intense. What were you thinking when you beat Tiller? Like, because that was, not only did he beat you really hard week 1, but he also had a strong defeat versus you in the playoffs. So were you like popping off?
Yeah, well, not traditionally popping off, but I was very excited. So, I was super happy.
Yeah, that was a testament to how much you grew, definitely, and also to how much you're able to learn and adapt. Because I think that's one of the things, not just in Pokemon, but in Smash too. Like your stock 3, for example. Like
yes, that's kind of a running joke.
Yeah. So this was very stock 3 StarToad. So that win over Tiller meant that you got to go into the semifinals, and you faced me again. This time I was like, okay, let me not get 2 one-hit KOs from Drapion right off the bat.
That didn't happen.
So
I'm sure you were happy.
Yes. So what was your thought process going into the battle versus me, just like team building?
So team building, I brought all of the same mons, but I used different strategies. So with Celesteela, I put Iron Ball on it, so I would like outspeed but not outspeed, but
like
not outspeed Aromatisse in Trick Room, I guess.
Yeah, outspeed in Trick Room since the speed tiers are reversed.
Yeah. So, and then you figured that out because I forgot about it and switched into like Earthquake, and then it hit. So, oops. And then you read Mega Swampert with like the Specs Freeze Dry.
I'm not gonna lie, I popped off. I loved that. I was like, yes, I wanted to hit that so bad.
Yeah, the rest of the match was like me getting murdered by Druddigon, which I didn't really know what Druddigon did really. I know it has like a lot of moves it can use, and also like Sheer Force.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was counting on Sheer Force Life Orb Druddigon because it hits hard,
Yeah.
And I didn't use it much during the regular season, so I don't think people were gonna expect it versus me.
It didn't.
But yeah, this was a pretty big defeat, like first battle, like versus Tiller. So you had another battle versus me. What was your thought process going into this one? Because you did change a few things. You got rid of Pelipper, you got rid of Zapdos, and you added Porygon Z and Yanmega.
Okay, so Pelipper wasn't working here because it just kind of died to anything electric, and you could bait that out like really easily. So I figured nope, and then I brought Porygon Z instead. Porygon Z could actually like kill Milotic, which I really wanted to do. And I brought Yanmega. I don't know why I brought Yanmega, but I'm glad I did.
Oh yeah.
I used like a Choice Specs tinted lens set, which is really, really good, as I found out.
Oh yeah. It's intense.
So, yeah, this match was surprising. I think it was like the first match or the only match you lost.
Yeah, so. It was. Yeah, the Yanmega and Porygon Z were really good choices, and I think that you really caught on to one of my team's weaknesses with that switch with Porygon Z, because aside from Piloswine, Porygon Z can really rip through my team, especially if it converts into Electric. And you weakened Piloswine enough that you were able to do that. And so once the conditions were right, you were able to sweep, and you did it. And Porygon Z 4-0 in the KD. That's pretty good for Porygon Z, considering you didn't really use it effectively in the regular season. But here's the third time in the playoffs that Porygon Z is useful for you. What was your thought process now? The score's 1-1, and you were the first person to ever take down Mystical Chain.
Well, I wanted to win, so I had some strategies that I really wanted to implement, but that didn't happen. Mostly because of Piloswine. I got cocky and sent out Porygon Z before I took down Piloswine, which was kind of my undoing. I also forgot it had priority, which was bad.
Yeah, I started. Honestly, I don't know how Piloswine is a tier 5. Like, I'm bumping it up to tier 4 next league. There's no way it should be in tier 5. Yeah, this was an intense match. I actually thought I was losing at one point. I thought I was gonna lose. I was like, oh shit, I lost. And then I didn't, but like, you played it really well to the point that I thought I was gonna lose. So I'd say out of everything, this was definitely my hardest ever. Like, I guess set, but in general, as an opponent, you were the toughest one I faced, and again, the only one to cause me to lose. So This ended up being a score of 2-1 for me and then 1-2 for you. So what was that experience like, I guess, it being in the semifinals and being able to take a game off of, I guess, the rank 1 and but then ending up losing the last match?
So overall, I was pretty happy with how I played. I did lose, but I still had the third place determiner, so I wasn't gonna like go out immediately. And I did take a game, so yeah, that's pretty cool. I probably could have won if I just like played smarter, but there's a limit to that. So
well, you did really well. Like, again, like seeing your performance through the league, I'm like, damn, you have grown a lot. So we do move on to the third place determiner, and this one's versus Appleton Allegiance, the other person in the regular season that you lost to in the beginning. So this was like, I practice with Colin every single week, aside from the playoffs, because I told anybody who asked me, I was like, I don't want to practice in the playoffs, just because I didn't want to pick like one person over another to practice with, I guess. But I did help people in the regular weeks, and Colin was someone I helped every single week. And I saw him grow a lot, and I saw you grow, even though like we didn't really practice that much in the regular season. I don't think we practiced at all in the regular weeks, but I saw you grow too. And so you two were like the two that I thought, okay, you two grew the most. And so it was really interesting seeing you two face each other in the third place determiner. What was your thought process facing Colin, not only after his growth, not only after your growth, but also after like your previous match, and after the fact that both of you have significantly changed your team since then?
So I was like pretty proud of how far that I came. We both like beat our seed by a wide margin, so I thought it was gonna be a pretty interesting match, seeing as like the two
underdogs. Yeah,
we're facing off each other or against each other. So yeah, so team building, I decided I was gonna bring Clefairy. So Clefairy was gonna be like my check to Kieran Black, because I didn't know I got Ironhead, but I don't think he like brought it in the first one, so that was good for me. I also tried to like, I was really scared he would bring Rotom Wash, because Rotom Wash like is really scary. I can't really do anything about that, so I had like a Choice Scarf Porygon Z. The plan was to like trick it onto Rotom so it couldn't like spread burn or anything, because I was very scared of that. It also outsped Mega Lopunny, and I thought I could kill it with Psychic, but no.
Yeah, did you do the damage calculation for it? Because I remember you saying it could kill.
I was pretty confident it would kill because it was max special attack, but no, it didn't kill.
Okay. I thought you did the damage calculation, and so I was wondering if maybe Colin put a little bit of points into special defense, but I guess we should check out the calc.
Yeah, I'll do that later.
I think maybe if you had like adaptability Hyper Beam, that probably would have killed it, but yeah, it was unfortunate seeing it go down to 3% and then kill you with Drain Punch.
3% was like the magic number in this match.
Yeah.
I think that also happened to like, I think it was Dragalge or something.
Yeah,
so,
it did.
I got like the reverse sweep with Clefairy using Calm Mind and like Soft Boiled, so that was cool. I don't think anybody was expecting Clefairy to come out at all.
Yeah,
sweep.
Definitely not. That was really cool. I think that was one of the cooler moments of the playoffs, seeing Clefairy not only come out, but be able to sweep and take down Kieran Black of all things, that was really cool. That was a fun one. So moving forward, you face Colin again, and in this one you had a 6-3 lead, but there was one pivotal moment that changed everything.
Yeah, Swampert. Was it Swampert dying?
Yeah.
I probably could have won that by just sacrificing Clefairy or something, but I didn't do that. I mean, it had Aurora Veil up, but I had Brick Break on my Swampert, which I conveniently forgot about. So, I kind of threw in the towel there. Mega Lopunny, very scary. I couldn't really do anything, especially because it had like Thunder Punch to deal with Pelipper and Celesteela.
Yeah, Mega Lopunny is a beast. I remember commentating that, and I remember saying, this is 6-3, but Mega Lopunny can literally sweep the other team if Swampert goes down, and that's exactly what happened, and it was pretty intense. Yeah, it was really that pivotal moment that defined this game. And after this, you were at 1-1. So what was your thoughts going into the last one? You changed Clefairy for Weezing, and Colin didn't change his team.
I needed another, switch in to Mega Lopunny, and I figured Weezing could, I actually ran the damage calculations here, and it was like a 3-hit KO with return.
Yeah.
So, and it could, burn it if it decided to stay in. Also, it could burn Kieran Black, and I put Gyro Ball on it, just so I could, deal with Ninetales. That didn't happen, but it was there.
That would have been interesting. In this one, the big problem, instead of Mega Lopunny this time, it was Kieran Black.
Yeah. Kieran tore some holes in my team, to say the least.
But even more so than that, it defended.
Oh yeah, it's very bulky. It took 3 earthquakes, and it had Roost too, so that was fun. I was not expecting Kieran Black to stay in that long.
Yeah, I think Colin's plan was that he wanted to stall out the rain.
Yeah, it worked, so...
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Scizor to try and do that.
Yeah, I remember that. I think Kyurem did it to a better extent.
Yeah.
Especially because it resists Waterfall, whereas Scizor gets hit hard by it. So this was 1-2 for you, and you ended up 4th overall in the playoffs, which is really good. You were rank 5 in the playoffs, so that was higher than the rank, and you were seed, was it 9?
I think it was seed 10.
Seed 10 in the whole thing, so you definitely outperformed both your seed and your rank, and that's really impressive. I think that your journey through the league was one of growth and improvement, and yeah, so I wanted to ask you, what, if anything, what has changed in your approach to Pokemon, and just in general, how your perspective through the league?
Well, it's definitely changed a lot. So I guess I went from just kind of throwing out Pokemon to actually synergizing with it, instead of just throwing together Pokemon that were individually they're good, but they don't have synergy together. I think that was like the thing that I used the most when building my team. Was like this idea of trying to like use synergy to overwhelm the opponent, I guess.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, like I said, I think your team is the team that was the most cohesive by the end.
So side note, I wanted another trade. I wanted to trade Emberhoof for Cryogonal, but I figured after week 7, which was like Cryogonal freezing the opponent twice or something, I figured that was a lost cause. I wanted to trade Cryogonal for Guzzlord, because Guzzlord is bad. But anyways, that was a little side tangent here, but I feel like my approach to Pokemon definitely has changed, like, a lot.
In the way of like synergizing and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that, and with that, I'm curious, are you actually going to join the next season?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how you carry that.
I'm going to do rain.
That was going to be my next question. Okay, well, we do have someone else who's interested in joining has confirmed that he's going to do rain, so there will still be at least one rain team. So, I mean, you don't have to say anything. You could leave it as a surprise for us, but, like, what are you taking moving forward into that league in terms of, like, drafting and team building? Is there any things that you want to try out? Of course, like, you don't have to say anything. You can keep it a secret if you want.
Well, I have like, a core, kinda. I have a core plan, but all of that could wash away because I think some of my picks are gonna be pretty popular. So, I hope I don't get sniped. Basically, is what I'm trying to say.
You and me both, and everybody else. As long as Volcaroda's not part of that core, I don't think I'll snipe you.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well it's not. Don't worry. I'm not.
Good. All right. I was gonna ask. I forgot the other question. If you had any final thoughts about the league itself, any other teams in the league that you wanted to comment on, any battles that you found interesting, the format of the league in general, any final thoughts at all?
So I think this league was really well run. Props to you and Quest, of course, for organizing it, and Colin for doing some drawing, the MVP drawings. So that was nice of all of you. Also, congrats on winning the league.
Oh, thank you.
That was very impressive. I guess I'm just really excited for next league. I know a lot of people are too, and it's also kind of cliche, but I really am.
Yeah, I'm excited too, and I'm excited that this league is like just the beginning. Like moving into the next one, I'm not saying that there's not going to be more growth for you and other people, but like this was like a lot of people stepping out of like, okay, what am I doing, to formidable opponents. So in the next one, people are going to start off as formidable opponents. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that shakes things up and how people take what they learned in this league moving forward. I'm really excited. So I'm really glad you joined, and I'm really glad that I got to see how you grew through this. I don't know if you watched some of... Well, you did mention you watched a few, but you were name dropped a lot in the other team analysis videos.
I noticed. People didn't expect me to do good initially, but then they're like, oh, Celesteela.
Well, even more than Celesteela, just like how you were team building and how you were playing, I think.
Yeah.
Although Celesteela definitely doesn't hurt.
And it helped, but overall my ideology changed a lot.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that, and I think you'll carry that moving forward. So really excited, and this won't be the last we see of. Well, maybe it'll be the last we see of Detroit Dunsparces. I don't know if you'll change your name for the next one.
I might go with Detroit Drapions. I have an image planned. I might actually like do something for it, but
have like Mew and Volcarona dead in the background.
that's a great suggestion. I'll do like the cartoon X's over their eyes.
Yeah. Their items falling off.
Yeah, that's always a fun one. I like Drapion. Drapion, I didn't mention it earlier, one of my favorite Pokemon to use. Just because of that. I didn't use it very often, but it really did well.
Yeah, that was a funny moment. Speaking of moments, I just remembered the last thing I wanted to ask. What was your favorite moment in the league, if you have any?
Well, I already mentioned the Drapion thing. That was funny. So I think my match versus like Butcher Bussies, that was just like really funny. Not only because I knew that he didn't like stall that much. There was also like a moment where I had Substitute up, and like he sent in Ditto, and Ditto apparently I didn't know this at the time, but Ditto doesn't transform if you don't have Substitute, or if you have Substitute up.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that at all. I wasn't planning that ever. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I think most people learn when it happens to them, and they're like, "Oh, shit." I think that's happened to me before. Yeah, that was an interesting battle where Fingered Witch was like, "Okay, here comes the sun," and you're like, "No, I want the rain again." So
yeah,
we're gonna be raining today. But yeah, really glad you were able to join, and thanks for doing this interview with me. Really fun to hear your perspective, and I'm excited to see what you bring next league.
Yeah, you too.
Alright, well, this was Detroit Dunsparces, StarToad from Detroit Dunsparces, our overall 4th place competitor, really strong performance. I have 2 more team analysis videos coming soon, so stay tuned for those. One I might be able to crank out and put up tonight, and then mine is going to be like super long and we'll probably do tomorrow. So stay tuned for those, and this is Noel from Mystical Chain. I'll be uploading those tonight. See you then.